Well, it's busy Friday here, but a lot to cover any given week. I mean, there's so much going on in the news every single day. It keeps us moving along, and, well, the dogs are excited, too. For the most powerful voice for business in Michigan, the Michigan Chamber Business Brief, Mike Alaimo joining me now, the Director of Environmental and Energy Affairs. And it makes perfect sense. We go from Mark Griffin from the Michigan Petroleum Association to Mike Alaimo. All of these things are very important topics. Mike, thank you for being here. Because
yeah, great to be here, Steve.
Just talking about this conversion to EVs, which is not going well, that I just had the conversation with Mark about, because people don't want them. Maybe hybrids, maybe that'd be an okay way to go, and I think people would embrace that over straight EVs. But at the same time, you've got this parallel problem happening because Dana Nessel is targeting the petroleum industry in general, trying to blame them for it being warmer today than it was 100 years ago. And it is absolutely obnoxious. There's no foundation in the science, no matter how they try to twist it. I mean, we have Great Lakes, don't we, Mike? We have Great Lakes here in Michigan. And weren't those at one time glaciers? Or did I miss something in first grade science? Help me here.
Yeah, you're 100% right. This is not a fact or data-based initiative by the Attorney General. In fact, in the joint letter that we submitted yesterday to the media, we called it for what exactly it was, which is political theater and pageantry. Nobody in their right mind thinks that we can go after the entire backbone of our economy and shut down our grid, shut down our hospitals, shut down our schools because we've decided to stigmatize an entire industry. It's ludicrous. And so that's what we did. And folks like Mark Griffin and his group were working with us to submit that letter to the media, to just call it for what it is, and to also put a stake in the ground to say, look, we're not going anywhere because this is not an appropriate approach to policymaking. This is not an appropriate use of a state office. And the taxpayers are ultimately funding this, and they should be concerned. They should be aware that this is how the Attorney General is using their resources to go after the Michigan business community.
Yeah, it's insulting in many ways, right? I mean, look, speaking to Mark Griffin, and obviously he represents scores of convenience stores, gas stations, working people, middle-class working people in Michigan just trying to put food on the table, to pay for the obnoxious inflation created by the Democrats in Washington. I mean, that's the way it is. You can argue all you want, but the fact is only one thing creates inflation. One thing. Morton Freeman can explain it to you anytime you want to hear it. Milton Friedman, excuse me. Anytime you want to hear it online, it's government, period. And for them to say otherwise is completely dishonest, and to go after hardworking business owners and their employees, which is what this looks like to me, is completely out of line.
I think it's a great point. And I think maybe folks that saw the original announcement from the Attorney General were thinking, well, that's just a couple of companies representing big oil, or that's just a couple of the really mega huge corporations. And in reality, it's not that. And again, that's reflected in our letter, where you have Mark Griffin's group with the Petroleum Association, who are the vendors and the folks that distribute critical fuel and gas products. You have the Retailer Association, right? A broad array of customer-focused entities that are saying this is going to lead to inflationary costs. This is going to lead to damaging our economy in a time when Michigan residents can least afford it. So what are we really doing here? And I'll say another piece of this that we have strong concerns with is the Attorney General didn't just announce she's suing the oil and gas industry or the fossil fuel industry. She talked about using this contingency fee structure to solicit plaintiffs' attorneys, private law firms, to, through an RFP style approach, submit their best legal argument to her office, which was, the deadline was yesterday, which was why we kind of used that as the opportunity to put out that letter. But to say, you as a private law firm are now deputized under the Attorney General's office to go after a broad and poorly defined, industry group. And that in and of itself is really concerning because, of course, these private trial attorneys have every incentive to submit their legal arguments, to work through this RFP, to try to get this award, because they know that there could be a windfall monetary benefit in doing so. And we've seen the Attorney General use this approach in the past to not just kind of deputize these private attorneys, but then also use it as a firewall between her and the media. When the media will reach out and ask for information or try to FOIA request, they'll say, "Oh, we were working through a private law firm. We're not subject to FOIA under that." So all of this just really, frankly, reeks of inappropriate and non-transparent behavior by the Attorney General.
It certainly does, and it's reckless. Again, as you point out, Mike, it's using our resources as taxpayers to go after our friends and our neighbors that own these companies or work at these stations, or people that we get to know because we see the guy that, we talk to when we go and buy a Diet Coke and pay for some gas, whatever it is we do out there, right? I mean, these are people in our neighborhood. And so therefore, I think it's reckless on certainly more than one level. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And frankly, this is just a really terrible time to be doing anything of this nature. But I would argue that this is just a drastic misuse of the state office. And so that letter was really about putting, as I said, a stake in the ground that the Michigan Chamber and our partner organizations aren't going anywhere. We're going to be watching this closely, and we will be engaging on this issue because, at the end of the day, it is out of line with everything we want for this state, from growing our population to building affordable and attainable housing or childcare. This would put all of that at risk. So we'll be continuing to monitor and engage on this situation.
Mike Alaimo from the Michigan Chamber, greatly appreciate your input as always. It's a very important topic. It could not be more important than it is today. Mike, thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Steve. You too. Appreciate it.
There you have it. All right. Some final thoughts on a busy week. How about get off of our backs is the message, all right? We'll be right back.